When you think of Korea today, you probably imagine porcelain skin, K-pop idols, high-tech skylines, and a people known for their fierce cultural pride. But what if I told you that less than 100 years ago there were black Koreans, real, living, breathing people with dark skin, Africoid features, and deep cultural roots, living peacefully on the very same land? And then, they vanished. This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't ancient legend. This isn't 2,000 years ago. This is within living memory. Photos taken between 1895 and 1935, just about a century ago, show us a Korea the world has forgotten. A Korea with dark-skinned men and women, children with kinky hair and wide noses dressed in fine garments, scholars, artists, officials, black Koreans, yes, black. So the question must be asked, loudly, urgently, fearlessly, where did they go? Because these aren't dusty myths buried in stone. These are photographs.
Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yawashai, Ba'asham Raka Kwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Kiam. And this is your brother Abawan back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yawashai, Ba'asham Raka Kwadash. All praises and glory is due, right? And I'm sure that you all can have been noticing the rise of these types of YouTube videos, right, with the AI voices going into history, bringing out all these hidden history about so-called blacks everywhere on the earth. Okay, and this isn't me, making fun of it or anything like that. And of course, it is very suspicious. I think there was one African Stories 24 hours, different videos that look kind of AI that have been popping out all over the YouTube for a while, right? For a while now. And this is when I happened to stumble across, and because it had some information here that is actually pertinent and is actually true, right? I decided to just do a video clipping it. So basically, what you have here is that's the name of this channel is Chronicles of Blacks. Okay, which of course, as we know, blacks is not a race, it is not a nationality, it is not even an identity, it is a byword, a slur, really. Okay, and the title of his video is "They Erased Black Koreans from History, but the truth has finally been exposed," right? And basically what he's saying is that prior to this modern time, the same way that you had well, not really blacks, right, but Jakes, in Europe, the same way that you had Jakes in, the Americas, the Northern Kingdom, you also had dark-skinned people in Korea, dark-skinned people in China, dark-skinned people in Japan, right? You still have dark-skinned people in Australia and New Zealand, dark-skinned people in Southeast Asia, Papua New Guinea, and I think I did a video going into that. Let me see if I can just quickly look for that on the YouTube, right? Just to show what I'm talking about, because realistically, all over Asia, you have dark-skinned people, okay? And I don't mean dark-skinned people as in, they're just like Indians, where, they are pretty dark, but you can still tell that they aren't Negroes, right? I'm talking about Negroid-looking people, okay? So let's start by getting this one here. Right, Papua New Guinea, and this is Papua New Guinea, which is basically right in the middle of Asia. Okay, and if you look at the Papua New Guineans, they look just like so-called Negroes, right? And the reason, and of course, these aren't so-called Negroes. These aren't even Africans. They are, all right, the heathen. But this video that I'm bringing out about the black Koreans is the same thing. They are the heathen, okay? The Papua New Guineans, they are Japhets, while the Koreans are Ammonites, okay? The same nationality as the Japanese. And we'll go into that because they have, because the Japanese, right, and the Koreans have pretty much the same ancestry, and it's the same thing with China, which is Moab as well. Or if I'm remembering it correctly, I believe the Koreans are also Moabites as well. But it's pretty much the same ancestry, which is that Moabites slash Ammonites ancestry, and of course we'll go into that, through the spirits. Okay, but I'm just doing this first to show you that you do have Negro looking people all over Asia. And if you go into your map and looking at the map of Papua New Guinea, you would know that that location is in the Asian, or the Southeast Asia, Asian region. And let's also, look for, there are different regions, right? Where you have these dark skinned Negro looking people. But what I actually want to look at right now is Laos as well. Which of course in Laos they are more Asian looking, but you still have a lot of people here in Laos that actually look like dark skinned people. I'm not going to show all that. Look at that. I mean, anyway, but yeah, they look more like yeah, what was I going to say again? They look more like Asians, right? And the same thing with some of these Asian countries as well. Vietnam, the Vietnamese are Moabites, okay? Thailand, Thailand, more the same thing. Tibet, Taiwan, Hong Kong, right? They are all Moabites, okay? But the one I actually want to get right now is let's get that, Melanesia, right? Melanesia. You also see the same thing with Cambodians, which are also Asians as well, right? And this is the Melanesians, and you see that they look like Jake with just blonde hair, right? And these are the Melanesians. This is an example of what they look like, and you see them, they look like Jakes with or they look like, it's like not Jakes, but basically they look like Negroes, okay, with blonde hair, because once again these are Japhites, okay. And this is an example of one of those videos I'm talking about, history focused vibes, right? All these AI videos that are going into history, but basically saying that, oh well, this is the how all black people have been on the earth, and basically making it look like it's an African thing, but really it is not. These people, okay, these dark skinned Asians, they are not Africans, they are not Hamites, okay, they are, you know they are Japhetic, okay, or they are, Moabites or Ammonites, depending on what part of the world that they are in. So basically, they are from the other sons of Shem aside from Ham, because all the other sons of the other sons of Noah aside from Ham, because all the other sons of Noah, Shem and Japheth, are still dark skinned, melanated people. Right, so from that video, what you saw was the dark skinned Koreans, okay, which, like I was saying, right, they are, or rather, like, they have the same ancestry if you really go into it, because I know a lot of brothers, in this truth, right, not just in the truth, but also Jake as well, right, brothers love to watch anime, because hey, and I'm not knocking anybody or anything like that, I love watching anime as well, anime, manga, video games, and all that. And realistically, right now, the two top players when it comes to anime and video games is, Japan and China, right? Because now it's over there in the Far East, right? All these Far East Asian countries like Japan and China are producing a lot of great video games, okay? But what you are talking about is their ancestry, and where the ancestry of the Koreans come from, right? Are the Jomon people. That's what Esau calls them in the history. The Jomon people, and this is it right here. The Jomon people were the earliest inhabitants of the Japanese archipelago during the Jomon period, a time spanning approximately 14,000 BCE, and that's where Esau will bring in his ridiculous ass dates of when these people migrated to this region to 300 BCE, right? They were hunter-gatherers and early agriculturalists who developed a distinct culture characterized by pottery with cord markings, which gave the period its name. Right. But here's the thing is that these German people also inhabited Korea as well. So let's go to the Wikipedia just to get more information on that. And this is, who Esau claims, right? The ancestry of the Japanese and even the Koreans as well come from. Because if you go to places like Korea and Japan, it's not just all these Far East, all these Asian looking people that are there. You also have different ethnic groups in Japan as well, not just native Japanese people. You have the Ainu. You even have, I think you even have Okinawans, right? The island of Okinawa in Japan is a different ethnicity than regular Japanese. But of course, we'll go into all that. But let's get this first. The German people are the indigenous hunter-gatherer population that lived in the Japanese archipelago during the German period, which is 14,000 to 300 BCE. They were united through a common German culture, which reached considerable degree of sedentism and cultural complexity. The German people are characterized by a deeply diverse East Asian ancestry and contributed 9 to 32% of the modern Japanese genetic makeup. Population genomic data from multiple German era remains suggest that they diverged from ancestral East Asians, and you see that in quotes, prior to the divergence of northern and southern East Asians sometime between 38,000 and 25,000 years ago, but after the divergence of basal East Asian, Tianyuan, and Haobinhan lineages. After their migration into the Japanese archipelago, they became largely isolated and from outside gene flow at 20,000 to 25,000. This is just not just babble from Esau, man, because that's not even what we are looking at right now. Right, but but that's just to give you an idea of who they are, and these are basically what the first, ethnic group that existed in that East Asian region. So let me get this because they only showed how the Germans are connected to Japan, but I want to also get this as well in I also want to get this for the Korean people as well, right? Because I actually read this before I started doing this video. Should have probably saved that article about how the Koreans are also from these same people as well. So let's get that. Let's get that. This is the AI overview for are the Koreans descended from the German? Yes, Koreans are genetically linked to the German people, but it's a more nuanced relationship than simply being descended from them. Koreans have a significant amount of indigenous German related ancestry alongside other Northeast Asian ancestries. This means they have a complex genetic makeup resulting from various admixture events over time, and this is all just babble, okay? Because there is no such thing as genetic admixture. You are whatever your father is, and this is what this shows you is that, hey, these Far East Asians, your Koreans, your Japanese, your Moabites, your Thailand, your Vietnamese, your all these different Far East Asian, Singapore, Malaysia, right? All these different Far East Asian ethnicities, they all go back to the same ancestor, which is basically Moab and Ammon, right? Which of course your Koreans and your Chinese are Moabites, or your Japanese are Ammonites. So yeah, that was the mistake I made earlier in the video where I said that the Koreans were Ammonites, and what I meant to say was that they were Moabites. So yeah. Okay, this one I was thinking about. Yeah, this one I'm looking for right here. The Yayoi people who migrated from to Japan from the Korean peninsula also have German-related components in their ancestry, but Koreans possess a larger percentage of Yayoi-related ancestry compared to the Japanese, right? And the reason I'm going into all this is just to, show you where or what Esau is saying concerning the ancestry. But we know, right, as it's written in the scriptures, okay, that the Japanese, the Koreans, and so on, they descend from both the Moabites and the Ammonites, with the Koreans being Moabites, okay, and of course Moab is the son of Lot. So let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that. And I believe Ammon is the grandson. Okay, let's get that. So this is the book of Genesis 19, and let's see. Okay, Genesis 19 verse 30. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow, that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that he may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, slacker, nor when she arose. Thus were born the daughters of Lot with children by their father, or thus were both the daughters of Lot with children by their father. And the firstborn bare a son and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger son also bare a son and called his name Benami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon to this day. Right. So both the Moabites and the Ammonites, which means, these your Far East Asian people, are actually Shemitic people, okay? Because they are descended from Lot, which is the cousin, right, of Abraham. So they are all Shemitic people, and they are also dark skinned people. And this is something that has already been historically established multiple times, that these Koreans were actually dark skinned people. The Japanese are actually dark skinned people, and in fact, you still have many of those dark skinned people, specifically the Ainu, which are Ammonites as well, specifically the Ainu people, right? They still have some if you can look at old pictures and see how they looked, okay, dark skinned with the woolly hair and everything. And with the Chinese, descended from the Moabites. And you can also, I even have a video, I believe it's on this channel, going into that history as well. And this is all just well documented history that has already, that basically is well documented history that already exists, but it's just giving you more validity to the scriptures, okay? Because even the scriptures tells you that the whole world and all people were melanated, aside from Esau Edom, because Esau Edom is the only pale skinned people on the earth. And that's why you see that all the other nations and all the other nationalities, regardless of how pale they are all called POCs, right? And all have varying degrees of melanin, because that's exactly what they are, okay? They have, because that's exactly what they are, because they are descended, according to the table of nations, from dark skinned people. And let me say this again, okay? The Koreans, right, are not descended from Africans or black people, but rather they are descended from the Moabites, okay? And all that genetic historical ancestry that I was just showing you just now was just to give you some context into which ancient people, according to Esau's naming conventions, they are from. But in reality, right, the most important thing to know is which biblical ancestor that these people, okay, these people belong to, right? And this is just me speaking as a man, okay? But I believe that the reason why, because people will ask, well, if they are Moabites and Ammonites, why did they leave the land of Moab in the Middle East, right? The land of Ammon in the Middle East, and migrate all the way to Far East Asia? And this is just me speaking as a man, and it's the same reason why you see Japheth having to flee Europe, right? Because of the Romans, because of Roman persecution, and because of the Roman Empire, because of Esau Edom during their rulership. It's also the same reason why you saw Jakes as well flee into the different parts of West Africa, into the annals of Europe, and even into Asia as well, right? Because of Esau Edom, the so-called red man. This is how Esau, this devil, has completely destabilized the earth, right? Because now you have all these different people, all the different nationalities scattered all abroad the world, far away from their ancestral homeland, far away from their true identities. Okay, it's not just the Israelites that have forgotten their identity, but also these other nations as well. Because the Japanese don't know that they're Ammonites, right? Hell, they don't even know that they are actually Middle Eastern people, right? The same thing with these other Far East Asian people. They don't know that they are from the Middle East, right? The Japhetic people, right? The Samoans, the Polynesians, The Tongans, they don't know that they're the real Europeans, okay? the and if you look into the history, you'll see that these people that these people are actually the dark-skinned Etruscans, right? The Etruscans that were living in the Mediterranean, that created the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire as well during that time. That these are who these people are, right? The Polynesians, the Tongans, the Samoans, the Hawaiians, the different people, the different even people out there in the Asian peninsula, in the Asian parts of the world as well, though their bloodline goes back to Japhet. These are the real Europeans, okay? And Esau Edom is not native to anywhere that he is on the earth, because Esau is native to Mount Seir in their, Mount Seir, and I forgot the exact location that it's in Petra, yeah, Petra, right? That is where Esau Edom is native to. So yeah, it's not just Jake that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Everybody is, because Esau. That's why the scripture say in the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, that Esau has turned the world into a wilderness. Let's get that. Let's get that. So I'll start from the top. Isaiah 14, verse 3, and it reads, "And it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve." And this is, of course, speaking of you Israelites, you so called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. "That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, and say, How hath the oppressor ceased? How hath the golden city ceased? Yahweh hath broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fair trees rejoice at thee. The cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet that I coming." Okay, and let me just okay. Let me just jump down a little bit, because this is not what I wanted to actually get. Where is the part I actually wanted to get? Here it is. So now Isaiah 14, and I'll jump down a little bit. Isaiah 14, verse 16. "They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee, and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners?" Yes, this is speaking of Esau Edom. And that's why, as the scriptures say, when Esau Edom came into power, that evils were multiplied on the earth, right? It wasn't just, the wickedness, but also the face or the way of the earth completely changed, okay? And that was because of Esau Edom's rulership. You have to understand, man. Esau's rulership is backward, and it has completely destroyed whatever little order, whatever little righteousness that was on the earth prior to their rulership. Okay? And this is what we're talking about right here, right now. And that's why you see so much confusion on the earth about, about real identity and real nationality. And you see everybody adopting these different bywords and proverbs that have been put on them by Esau Edom. But now, as it is written, the truth is beginning to spring forth out of the earth, right? We are beginning to get the full information and the full context of history to connect Bible prophecy and connect true history together to bring out the true information on the and bring true information out on the earth. All right, and that's what we see happening in these last days. So with that, okay. So with that, I'll end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yawashai Ba'asham Raka Kwadash Wa Abad Babal Shalom. And through the Spirit of Yakim and Joaquas are edified. Shalom.